mystery and horror, the air itself is filled with monsters.
Children of the night, what music they make. He's alive! He's alive!
Well, hello, all you monster fiends, and thank you for joining us for another deep dive, factoid-filled episode exploring Hollywood's most famous monsters. I am your mistress of ceremonies, Sam, and I am joined, as always, by Dan from Bleeding Marvelous. Say hello, Dan.
I can see your dirty pillows. Hi, Dan.
I got that reference.
Just checking.
I am Captain America sitting there going, I got that reference. Oh, well, hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Monsters Up North podcast. This week, we're getting all bloody. Well, it's a good way to describe it.
Nice, yeah.
Lots and lots of blood. It's actually the main theme of the whole thing is blood. So, I'll get in the disclaimer and then we'll crack on with this week's episode, which, if we haven't already said it already, is Carrie. Carrie. You can't say it without saying her voice, can you? Carrie. So, everything discussed in today's episode is our opinions and our opinions alone. If you'd like to discuss anything from today's episode, please come and join us on the Discord, our Facebook pages, or the comment section, where we can have an open discussion. But what we won't have is anyone coming for us and telling us our opinions are wrong. We can all agree to disagree in fandom. So let's keep it fun, keep it kind, and keep the toxic behavior out of nerdism.
Don't be a dick.
Simple.
Simple.
Simples. Right, let me just find my page that I've just conveniently lost because my book flipped over. So, Carrie, the 1976 and 2013 supernatural horror, originally directed by Brian De Palma, adapted from the Stephen King's 1974 novel of the same name. You were warned never to push Carrie to the limits. Now you must face the evil consequences as Monsters of North brings you Carrie.
We're all gonna laugh at you.
You can't even put it at the end there didn't sound right.
All I hear is Piper Laurie. They're all gonna laugh at you.
And they said
She was a psychic.
Oh, she was something. She was definitely something. So we've got the 1974 book, the 1976 movie, and the 2013 movie. We will not be referencing Carrie 2.
No, that can get in the bin.
Yep, we are just going with Carrie.
Yes. I just forgot to Google something for my notes, so you carry on.
Well, where do we even start with this, to be fair?
That is a good question. I mean, there is a lot. I mean, we should start with the book, I suppose, being 74. So,
well, to be honest, with the book, I'm going to weave it in and out of the two because of the because the both movies are very much very faithful to the book, apart from the endings. And I will obviously get into that. But in all fairness, you maybe like rolling your eyes at the 2013 one because obviously it's a redo. That is actually more faithful to the book than the 74 one. There was bits cut out of the 76 one. Sorry, I get confused with the book. The 76 one that were actually included. There was some parts in the 2013 one that corrected some things from the 76 one. But with the book, it is Stephen King's first proper to the world. Actually may never have come to be at all if it wasn't for the great Tabitha King. Because he was what's the word I'm looking for? Somebody said to him, you need to write you need to write a female protagonist.
Yeah.
You need to write someone who's like, you know, you've a female icon, like a female heroine. And he started writing Carrie, and he hated it. He didn't like it at all, and he pushed it to one side. And it wasn't until Tabitha King went, "This needs to come back out again." And thank God that it did, because it became the #1 bestseller like that.
Yeah.
Like instantly. It launched him to massive heights, to where if this didn't work, I don't think we would have Stephen King to where we have him today.
No. He took his experience from working as a janitor, if I remember rightly. He was working in a school, or he was working somewhere where there was a lot of people that were of a younger age. And he decided that he was going to use his experience from there, from what he observed.
Yeah. It was two girls in particular that caught his attention, and the behaviors towards each other.
Yeah.
One being, I think this is more to do with the Sue and what's the main? God, what's her name?
What's this?
The other girl?
No,
no, the horrible one. What's her name?
Oh, Chrissy
Chrissy
yeah.
Harkison. Jesus, that was going to do my head in. I think it was the relationship between them, because Sue in the movies, you often wonder why Sue's actually there in the 76 one, but in the book and in the 2013 one again, being very faithful, shows that there were interactions between Carrie and Sue that would make Sue and her descent into madness more realistic.
Right.
Because Sue's just a witness.
Yeah, Sue's one of those people that thought she was doing the right thing when she should have just let be. She should have never, for want of a better word, like saying, picked that scab. She should have just, and what she was doing was lovely. She was giving Carrie a chance to have what she thought she would never have, and she knew that she would always have that. It doesn't matter if she went or not. She knew she'd always be prom queen or whatever, you know. It's always been the one that would have got it, because everybody loved her. She wasn't necessarily horrible. She just sometimes got caught up in stuff, which is what happens at the beginning of the movie. She just got caught up in it and carried away with everybody else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just I found Sue very wet. Her intentions were lovely, but like it really was misplaced.
But Sue in the 2013 one is probably more to the book Sue than the 76 one.
Yeah, I mean,
which
Sue
is crazy.
She's like 7'3", that girl.
Yeah, and the 2013 one is the only time that Carrie's cast has been played by actual fucking teenagers.
Correct. Yeah.
Because Sissy Spacek was 24 years old when she was meant to be playing a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
The last thing I have on the novel, because obviously there's bits of the novel that I want to entwine within us talking about the two movies. This was now I cannot pronounce this. I had to Google it. It's a espinological. Oh God, I can't even say it. So it's a novel that is based around the narrative of collections of reports and expert testimony. So it's not essentially a point of view, and there is an actual name for it, and I cannot pronounce it. But it's through testimonials, but it's all in chronological order.
Yeah.
So it's not one point of view like you would get, and I think that was the uniqueness of this book, that it wasn't a point of view, like a point of view narrative.
Yeah, I mean, it was never going to be told in the narrative way. That was down to Lawrence Cohen, who took the book and turned it into the screenplay.
Yeah.
Lawrence decided that the clippings and the sort of having a narrator over the clippings and sort of involving all that in it would make it too heavy. For 76, it's not something that you used to have, those like paper flips and newspaper flips and that, you know, and it wasn't for him. So he decided, right, we'll make it a narrative from start to finish, and we'll see how it goes from there. But Lawrence actually also co-screenplayed the 2013 one. so he had a do-over with the 2013.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's why when you watch the two, and because I back to back them, there is a hell of a lot of similarities. I would easily say 70% of that movie is same dialogue, same scenes, maybe not set in the same place, but the same thing happens in the, do you know what I mean? It's like it is at least 70% the same as the original movie. It's crazy. The dialogue never, like, there's conversations they're having, and I'm like, deja vu moment. I've just
sat and watched that. But the if a movie, if I know we talk about, Hollywood's kind of like just rehashing things and going over it again. This is a movie that can be done like that, though, because it does work better in the modern time, especially the bullying aspect.
Yeah, I'll give that. Yeah, for sure.
That can be heightened up to a new level, especially in now time. So Carrie does work being brought into, a more
savvy world.
Yeah, absolutely. But so this movie, the 76 one, directed by Brian De Palma, who went on to marry Nancy, what's her face? Who's in RoboCop? Who played Chrissy?
Chris Hargensen.
Yeah, Nancy Allen?
Yeah, Nancy Allen. I just know Nancy from RoboCop.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know her from Carrie, but like, it was one of those things where you sit there and you go, I know I've seen her in something else, but because she's so much not older, but she gives off an older impression in RoboCop. And RoboCop is 14 years. I'm really sure. I'm sure it's late 80s, 1990 RoboCop.
I did do a review for Nerdy Up North, you'd think I'd remember, but I can't at all. But so Brian De Palma is doing Carrie at the exact same time. George Lucas is doing Star Wars: A New Hope, and I think I've told the story before, but they'd held joint auditions. Yeah. So whoever was in Carrie's auditions went over to George's, to New Hope's auditions, and vice versa. The person reading for each, so if you've got one person auditioning and you got the other person reading the script so they can act against them, is none other than Harrison Ford, who is not an actor at this point. He is just on-set carpenter. Yeah, he's a carpenter who just got called in. And there was a long-standing rumor for years that Sissy Spacek and Carrie Fisher had reverse roles. Carrie Fisher was going to play Carrie, and Sissy Spacek was going to play Princess Leia. Carrie Fisher did disprove that years and years and years later, that never actually happened. Sissy Spacek had that part the minute she walked in the room.
When she did what she did, yeah.
Even though Sissy Spacek her Carrie is not the Carrie from the book.
No.
Very different, because Sissy Spacek is beautiful.
But this is the thing, she's not conventionally beautiful.
No.
That's therein where the difference lies between Chloe Grace Moretz and Sissy Spacek. Sissy Spacek has that slightly peculiarness to her, unconventionalness, and you look at her and you go, yeah, she's pretty, but I can't put my finger on what it is. But with Chloe, you just take one look at her and you go, typical teen of the age.
I just think she's adorable. I just go, aren't you just so cute? You're just a cutie pie. But when I saw Sissy Spacek standing in that blood and the light shining out, I thought, fuck me, yeah, I get it. You are stunning in that moment.
It's the eyes for me with Carrie, with Sissy. She pulled off Carrie for me better than Chloe for two reasons. I think the age helped because she was 10 years older than Chloe when she played Carrie. Chloe was 15 and she was 25. So she had a bit of
experience.
There's a bit of experience to pull from because she'd lived a normal life. She'd gone to normal schools. She hadn't been thrust into the Hollywood limelight at a young age. She understood, what life do to a teenager in a conventional situation. Whereas I don't think Chloe, with her having her movie upbringing and being in as many films as she has been at such young ages, she would never have had that conventional school life. She would never have probably had a traditional upbringing in that respect. So I don't think not that she didn't understand the source material, because
yeah. Well, she actually hadn't seen, Chloe had admitted that she'd never actually watched the original Carrie, which blows my mind when you're watching the end scene, because there's movements in there that look exactly like what Sissy Spacek did. And I'm like, did you really not watch it? Because that is just too uncanny. Too uncanny. But Sissy Spacek kind of like owned this movie in respect of on-screen and behind the scenes as well.
Yeah.
She worked a lot within, like, I just think she wanted to be so hands-on with everything, to the point where she even did her own stunts. Everything is done by Sissy Spacek, including the ending with the hand coming out of the ground. Brian De Palma begged and begged her to let's get a stunt double in. And Sissy, no, I am doing this. We will figure this out. And they had to bury her under the ground with a box that her head could fit into, where then another gap where her hand can come out of the ground. And when it came to burying her husband was on set that day, and Brian De Palma went, "You do it.
Yeah.
I am not being held responsible for this."
Because her husband's James Fisk, isn't it? James Fisk was the art director and the prop man, and he did everything like that. And he actually is responsible for a little Easter egg that I don't know if you know about. There is a sign up in Sissy Spacek's community called Paxton Realty, and for one of the houses that's being sold.
Right.
And it just so happened that Bill Paxton worked for James Fisk as a runner at the studio, and he decided to use Bill's surname for the realty board. So Bill Paxton is technically in Carrie.
I never read that anywhere either. That's amazing. That. Oh, Bill. Love Bill. But yeah, it's that Sissy Spacek's hand actually coming out of the ground. An ending that is not in the book. However, Stephen King, by the way, Stephen King loves this movie, loves the 76 one, classes it as one of his favorites. And when they asked him about the ending, he went, "They did it better."
Yeah, well, that's his running theme, isn't it? He always thinks everybody else does the endings better than he does.
Yeah, they did it better. And when he was asked about the 2013 one, what his feelings were on it, he just went, "Why?"
Well, yeah, we'll get to why. I have a theory about the why, but we'll get to that when we get there.
Yeah, why? There's a few things that De Palma did have to remove from the movie in order for running time. Now, a big one is the Chrissy and Billy's death. That is, for all it might not seem it, that is quite a pivotal moment. That is Carrie finally getting her revenge, because once she's done with them two, she then goes home and has to deal with Mother. And a lot of people brush it off as in, it's over and done with. But in the book, it's a whole thing. It's actually played out as the 2013 one is, where she goes into the petrol station. They had to remove that for budgeting reasons from the 76 one, which De Palma was a bit sad about, but was happy that the 2013 one kind of got it.
Because both of them, though, didn't do the whole of the ending, which was, as far as I'm aware, Carrie set the whole town on fire.
Carrie, yeah. So, right, we'll get into the ending, because the ending is very different. So the ending of the book, Carrie, she's destroyed the school. In the 76 one, the gym teacher didn't survive.
Yes.
She does actually survive.
Yes.
Because she's part of the survivors who have to, they decide to evacuate the whole town. Whoever's still alive, because Carrie is just fucking raged across the whole town.
Yeah.
They all decide to evacuate apart from Sue. Now, Sue, Carrie goes back and has her whole confrontation with her mother.
Yeah.
But she kills her in a way which I really, really fucking wish at least one of them had done it. it's not, and it's because she stabs, well, she in the movies she gets stabbed, and it's really symbolic to the actual person, like it makes sense. But in the book, she grabs a hold of her mother's heart telekinetically
and crushes it, doesn't
and
she?
crushes it while she is reading Bible verses to her.
Yeah.
I just think, like, visually in my head, I would be like, oh, that so fucking sinister. But then Sue comes in, like, obviously the stab wound to Carrie, it does happen in the book, and Sue comes in just as her mother's dying, like she did in the 2013 film. They don't talk to each other,
Right.
telekinetically talk to each other,
Right.
where Sue tells her, and Carrie can feel it, that she didn't have anything to do with this.
Yeah.
She had nothing to do with this. And Carrie dies in Sue's arms, crying for her mum. She just wants her mum. She wants her mum back. She wants her mum. It is hinted, and again, people might roll their eyes at the fact that Sue was pregnant at the end of the 2013 one. It is hinted throughout the whole book that Sue is pregnant, and Carrie, and she's trying. Like, Carrie kind of thinks she might be, but when Carrie dies in Sue's arms, she comes on her period.
Right.
Just as Carrie dies. So there is a massive hint throughout the whole thing that Sue could be pregnant. So to put it in the 2013 one isn't out of realms of like, it's not a ridiculous storyline just to shove in there.
It's how they executed it for me. It's not the storyline. It is the fact that in the 2013 one, you see Sue puke once and then nothing until Carrie does her, ooh,
it's a girl.
You didn't know? And then she safely maneuvers her with the fucking force out the door. Jedi mind tricks her out of the door. And it's like, and she safely lands. Boom,
on the ground.
And it's like, okay, there must be deleted scenes or something that there was no, it was missing just that, I think we talked about this last week about exposition, and the puking was not enough. It was just oh, is she? And then you forget about it. I felt like there needed to be there was maybe one more scene that was a little bit more helpful, because you saw them have sex in the back of the van. Pick up, classy, but hey, you know, you do you. And then you see her puke, and it's like, well, that's a bit quick. So are we saying that this happened recently? Are we saying this is an old thing? There's no, and within the book, it's like Sue goes through a whole thing of am I not, convincing herself that she is, and the thing is, with it, potentially they don't say that she comes on her period, she just bleeds. It could be a miscarriage because now Carrie's gone. What else Sue do? Oh, that's it. So while the town is evacuating and Carrie's having her moment, Sue, behind the scenes, possibly, I don't know how long it is or if it's after the fact, but Sue actually finds out that there is more people like Carrie out there, right,
and goes out to find them.
Right.
So she's kind of like understand, because they have a very in-depth conversation with each other, in their heads.
Yeah.
How she can feel that she can feel what she wanted to do for her was out of love, was out of, I don't want you to feel this way anymore. I want you to have that special moment. And they kind of like, because they don't give you any indication that her and Sue are anything else but just people passing in a hallway. In the 76 one, I know they give you a little bit more in the 2013 one, but there is a genuine reason as to why Sue is so fucked up at the end, because of the experiences that she's had and the conversations that she's had with Carrie as well.
I think I read the book. I know I read the book because I went through a phase from about the age of 11 to about the age of 16 of reading nothing but Stephen King books. Like I said, I think I've said this story before. My mum used to check them out of the library for me. And I got to the point where I was just, if I could get it, I'd read it. And I know I've read Carrie. I know I have, but it was so long ago. Do you know how long ago it would have been? Over 33 years if I was 11, because I'm 44 technically tomorrow, but last Wednesday, if we're
Oh, that's right.
So
well,
it's
that's the book for any of you YouTubers. I know you audio people can't see it. It's tiny.
It is a very small book considering that
so
stuff is chunted out. Yeah.
And it's so small. You can't really make that out, but I used to smoke heavily. And you can tell my books are all affected by it. It looks like it's genuinely come out of an old library. This is not that old of a print. Like I might have had this for about 15 years or something. But yeah, it's not the biggest of books. But it's jam-packed with his dialogue works. I know Stephen King's like known for like explaining the back end of a thought. Like look at it, for example. But having heavy dialogue in here like kind of helps. Because you need to understand Carrie more than anything. And you need to understand the people around her and why this rage affects them. Because that's all she does. She just rages once and she ends a town.
But this is the weird thing. I mean, this movie struck a chord with anybody who wasn't in the popular crowd. This movie was probably, and I don't know if it was the very first kind of bully revenge movie, because you look at Porky's, you look at I know that's a funny one, but you look at all the revenge movies that have come out, and they've all been 80s plus. Like even Trauma, Toxie was at school, Newcomb High, stuff like that. They were all 80s and above. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I'm not saying there isn't, I'm just saying for anybody, I can't think of one off the top of my head of where it's all about a kid getting bullied to the point of where they snap, and when they snap, So there's so many kids that were brought up that can all sit there and go, I completely empathize with Carrie.
Yeah.
I understand the whole being on that precipice. Okay, we're not all telekinetic, but being on that precipice of snapping and not knowing what to do, not knowing, thinking through the consequences, because most of us are like that way inclined, that we more worried about the consequences after than actually retaliate anyway. But we, for us nerds that got bullied at school, this is a book of one of those things where it's a revenge movie that you're glad she gets the justice, even though she goes way over the top.
She was way over the top. There was one thing I loved about the 2013 one that I feel was missing in the 76 one, was Carrie actually working with her powers, understanding them, reading about them, seeing them full montage about like just trying shit, understanding that the mirror that she breaks in the 76 one, the reason it's put back together for is because she telekinetically did it.
Yes.
You don't see it.
No.
But you saw it in the 2013 one when she starts picking the shards up with her mind. And you're like, that's it. But you explore so much more in the 2013 one. It's much more fleshed out than...
The only issue I have with Chloe, and the difference between Chloe's portrayal of Carrie and Sissy's. Sissy does it in a way where you can see her whole persona snap in that moment. Yeah. Whereas you don't kind of get that with Chloe so much, because if you watch Chloe, I know she's 15, and I'm not, this isn't about her as a child. This is about the choices that were made by her and the director to portray Carrie. So this is not me slagging off a child. Acting abilities, it's not. Okay. It's the faces she pulls when she's doing the telekinesis stuff. For me, that took me straight out. I'm like, shut your mouth, stop.
Gawping, yeah, she gawped quite a bit,
and it's all the arm waving, and they're like, with when you looked at Sissy just moved her eyes. She didn't need to move her whole body. She didn't need to flail her arms around, and she didn't need to fly, and she didn't need to do all these other things. It was literally just look at you, look at where I want you to go, and you're over there. I don't have to go you there. It was very and. For me, that held more power in that moment, because she'd reached, the
break and snap point.
Chloe
builds it up.
Yeah.
And then, sorry, I can just hear a look. You're going, Sorry, that really took me out of that moment. But no, with Chloe, she builds it up.
Yeah.
To the point, then she blows. With Carrie, with Sissy Spacek, it's instant.
Yeah.
Instant snap. Done.
Everything changes about her though. Like everything, her demeanor, her face. She looks like a totally different person.
Yeah. And it's the tenseness. And if you've not to go all deep on you on a monster episode, but if you suffer with anxiety, tenseness becomes a part of your life, especially in your hand area. Mine sees up when I'm going through really bad anxiety patches. Like my hand sees up to the point where I can't physically unlock my hands, or they are straight and they're straight down. And I noticed that instantly with Sissy Spacek. Like I recognized that tenseness. I was like, there's so much anxiety and anxiousness, even though she's like raging. Yeah, she's still anxious about the fact that she's doing this. Like there's still something in there. I know that within that moment she's very much in the moment, but as soon as she's back home, she's back to being Carrie White again.
She washed it off.
She washed it all off. Did you actually know that Carrie White is not her full name?
Carrietta or something, isn't it weird? It's like
Carrietta N. White is her actual name, shortened down for Carrie. Poor PJ Souls though. God bless her. God bless her. And I find her so funny in this movie. The fact that when she's in the hairdressers and she's got her hat on top of the dryer, I was decked at that.
Weird fact for you that, in Freddy versus Jason, you have Catherine Isabel.
Mm-hmm.
She's based off of Norma, the PJ Souls character.
Yeah.
Because she wears the red hat and she's the tomboy. And Catherine Isabel said she made a choice to be like PJ Souls because she wanted to emulate that. Like, you didn't like her, but
no, she was awful, but she was funny as hell.
Yeah. She wanted to be the very similar version of that, but more modern day. And I think that was a very successful thing she did.
She really was. PJ Souls is a dick in this movie, but at the same time, you are very much like wanting to see her more on the screen. But she had a moment in the obviously the big end in the drama hall, in the dance hall, in the dance bit, when the fire hose goes off.
Yeah,
PJ Souls got it blasted in her ear to where her eardrum burst. And when she's on the ground, she is completely unconscious. And when she tried to get up, she was losing her balance. She had no equilibrium about her whatsoever. And then she goes back and flops on the floor and she's unconscious again. That's actually in the movie.
Yeah.
What you see from PJ Souls in that scene is her going through something pretty traumatic. But even she said, it's perfect. Like she went, this'll heal. Let's just, because she lost her hearing for 6 months. Ooh. She was like, yeah. She was like, no, let's just do this. Like that looks fucking fantastic. Like she's all about the art.
I know that the fire chief said to Brian De Palma, no, you can't put that on full pelt. That'll take skin off if she's too close. You can't do that. And Brian was like, okay, well, what if we set her back a little bit? It's not going to take her skin off, is it? And he was like, well, no, she has to be X amount of feet. So PJ was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. It does seem quite dangerous. And Brian talked her into it. And she was like, okay, yeah, all right, for the art, I'll do it, And then it's that bit where she falls down onto the table and you see the instant the water just shoots on the side of her face and goes in her ear because you see her go, ooh, and she's gone.
She's gone.
Like, yeah, and then she went from there out. I wasn't acting. She said he got everything he needed. So, but yeah, she would agree that the final take worked really, really well. That take worked really well. So there's no need to do it again. So
no, because she's unconscious. Like she did her part. So there's that incident in 76. In 2013, when I can't remember her name because she's not part of the main group. I know the main group in the 76 one, but not the 2013 one. She's one of Chrissy's friends. She was part of the whole.
Was she the laptop girl?
Yes, she's the one who, when she puts the video online, she's with her. She gets set on fire.
Yeah.
the stunt woman who did that fully got set on fire.
Oof. I mean, it was a hell of a windmill that she did do, because if you look at how when her dress caught fire and then she just kept turning around in circles, and then she became this massive like wind slash fire tornado as a person. And I mean, you're only supposed to be on fire for X amount of time, otherwise you end up like Kane Hodder, like a lot of the actors where they got burnt badly through their because they wear special gels and special
and it doesn't last very long. Like you only have a few seconds. But it felt like she'd watched Hunger Games far too many times and just was like, I'll spin. That's what the girl on fire does.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find out the character name of the girl.
Angie?
Yeah, I think you might be right. I think it's something like that.
I think it's Angie. Like my brain is
Tina.
Oh, I was well off.
Yeah, because you had Sue, then you had Chris, and then you had Tina and Heather. But in the original, they had slightly different names. They'd chosen, like,
just all with Norma.
Yeah.
The teachers' names were different as well. Miss Collins is a name made up for the movie, but Miss Desjardins is the teacher's name from the book.
Yeah, I mean, I really love Judy Greer. She can do no more for me. So
Judy Greer has my heart massively, and when there's a lot of slapping in Carrie.
There's a lot of slapping.
There's a lot of slapping in the 76 one. You've got Miss Collins who slaps Carrie initially, and then slaps Chris, possibly slapping other people. Oh God, yeah, possibly slapping more people along the way, and then Miss Desjardins is slapping. She slaps Carrie.
Yeah.
I love how she tries to justify it though. Like you couldn't understand. You had to do it in that moment. It was the only way to calm her down.
Yeah, she was hysterical.
Yeah, but then she slaps Chris as well, doesn't she? Yep. She proper bitch slaps Chris.
Yeah, but oh God, in both of them, Chris is hideous. I will say that in the 2013, Chris is worse to me for many reasons, which we'll get there. But like, she is way worse. I mean, that original scene, the opening, I say opening scene, but they're playing volleyball or they're playing water volleyball, whatever it is, they're playing water polo, whatever it is they're playing. They go to the shower scene. Now, in the 76 one, the shower scene is a lot of naked women, but they were all over 21. So that's why they were all nude, right? To this day, people aren't really sure why it was, why it was needed, but a lot of people felt because they originally were making it a bit art housey to try and appeal to stuff. So
you can tell with the score.
Yeah. it was directed, Brian De Palma, for God's sake, and then you had like the score was written by an Italian guy who had very kind of I think it was Mario Gillette. I've gone blank on his surname.
Well, initially it was Bernard Herrmann who was going to do the score, but unfortunately Bernard died before it went into production. But the Psycho violin was used in honor, because if you didn't know, Bernard did the score for Psycho, and it was in honor of him that they left it in. It was like a tribute.
See, that's how you do it, though. The other movie where we watched where they blatantly ripped it off the other day, which was Reanimated. That's different. This is how you homage something. You give it a short burst, but enough that you go, oh, I recognise that. But they don't play the tune. They just use a certain part of it, and it works. But that initial scene, I think they translated it really well in the 2013, because in the 76, you can tell Carrie's the outcast as it is. She doesn't know what a period is at the age of, I think she's supposed to be 15, 16. And your heart goes out to this poor girl, because you're like,
oh my God,
why hasn't anybody told you or helped you or given you any kind of inkling? I mean, do they not have sex education at school? But then I would think her mum would opt her out of it if it was even possible. Her mum would never let her join. I don't think.
He explained it in the 2013 one ever so slightly. The Carrie White was actually homeschooled for a really long time.
Yes, I remember. I remember that now.
But it was only ever said once, and I think that's to explain why she might not have been a part of, because in our times, you would know about sex education. I don't know how the 70s treated.
Yeah, I can't imagine it was good, judging by this, but kids can be cruel. Kids will always be cruel, but I have never known kids to be this cruel.
Look it up.
It is absolutely another level of humiliation. It's not even bullying, this bit. This bit is humiliation to the worst degree, and it even makes it even worse than the 2013 one. In the 1976 one, it's awful. It's words and then it's done. It's words and tampons and sanitary towels being chucked at her. She doesn't know what they are. She's got absolutely no idea. She doesn't even know. She thought she was dying. I mean, she doesn't have the knowledge or the fortitude to be able to deal with something like this. And no one's helping her. They're all just making her feel like an idiot for not knowing. And then they're throwing things at her and she's absolutely hysterical. And the teacher comes in, gets them all to go. And then you can see Sue change. Sue realizes what she did because the teacher says to her, doesn't she? I expect better from you. Why are you taking, what are you doing? And then Carrie, so this is the first inkling you get that Carrie has powers because the light goes boom, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But this is after the teacher slapped her and she's surrounded by sanitary.
Slapped the shit out of her.
Which by now, that is a lot of money to be wasting, to be fair, on that floor.
Yeah, you don't, 2024, that's like, Jesus. But do you know what? It broke me heart because as women, we know that pain. It's something you've never experienced before, and it is fucking horrific.
Yeah.
Every lady who listens to this will be saying, "Yep, Sam, you're right. It's fucking awful." And I know what that pain feels like, and she has to deal with the fact that she doesn't even understand what it is. It's new. It's a new pain, and it's fucking horrible.
To have your entire insides on fire and think that you're dying at the age of 15 as well. So you're mentally able to cope with it, at 15. The knowledge is available. The knowledge is there. It's not like she's cut off from any kind of education. She could have gone to the library to find out, but she'd never needed to because she didn't know it was going to happen. And when you go to the 2013 version, it plays out very similarly. However, with the invention of technology and mobile phones, the humiliation goes up. Just when you think it can't get any worse, this poor girl is already laying on the floor, covered in blood, asking for help, and no one's helping her. They're just making her feel like an idiot. She feels like the end, she's going to die. And then they stick mobile phones in her face and they're recording the whole thing on a mobile phone. Now,
and that's 2013. That's the 2024 move as well. That's what people do. Get their phones out.
I mean, how horrific. That has now been immortalized on film.
Yeah. And once it's on the internet.
It is one of those things that to me was a very, very, very good way of updating that scene very subtly, because you don't see them really do it. You don't really pay attention that they're holding phones out. It's only when Chris is in the principal's office and Judy Greer calls her out in front of the dad,
who's the
bad guy from Die Hard, wasn't he? He was the guy in Die Hard. And she calls her out and says, if I'm completely wrong and there's no video on your phone and you show your dad, you prove to your dad that there's no video on there, I'll apologize. I'll take everything back I've done. I'm completely wrong. And obviously Chris can't because she filmed it and it's on her phone. But I mean, the things that they put that girl through, I mean, and not only that, the whole school, you're telling me nobody had any kind of empathy level for her. Not one person.
Not one.
I'll be honest with you. When you look at Carrie White, I think she would smell. I think she might be that kid that... I think
it'd be more feistiness than anything. Yeah, that house did not look...
It would be weird. It wouldn't be unclean. Yeah. I think she would be made to bath in bleach because her mum was very much like that.
Well... There was one scene that really got us was after the incident, and she goes and has she doesn't even get a chance to have a wash. That poor girl goes to school the next day and her hair is still red from the blood in it. However, it's red when she goes to school. In the afternoon, when she goes to the library on the same day, her hair is clean.
Yeah.
And floaty, like she's just washed it.
Yeah, very broken continuity there.
And I was like, that if you kept it in, it's just a symbol that it's there. Because I wasn't joking earlier when I said blood is the main theme throughout this book is blood.
Yeah, I mean, Sissy Spacek, when she auditioned for Carrie, she wanted it that badly. I know that she went away. She didn't wash for a couple of days. She put Vaseline in her hair.
Yeah.
She wore a dress that her mum made her when she was a kid because she was so dainty she could still fit in it. It had rips in it and all sorts.
She's tiny.
And then she wears the same dress in the movie that she wore for her audition as well. There's like a little weird sailor's dress. And they said that went a long way because she did what they wanted. She gave what they needed without them knowing that that's what they needed.
Yeah.
And you know that the kids at school were giving her a hard time for years because religious weirdness, people don't understand it.
Obviously, her mother doesn't help the situation.
No, her mother is on a whole nother level. Now, I will say Julianne Moore's version,
I don't like it.
It's okay.
Visually, it's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, they go into a lot more about the self-abuse and the manipulation and the it's a totally different form of parental abuse, like the way I mean, you know, the mother, the way the mum abuses Carrie. They're two different portrayals.
Massively. And Julianne Moore actually, do you know, I'm saying I don't like her. It's because Piper Laurie's fucking incredible. Yeah. But you're right. It is very two different portrayals of, you know, child neglect, child abuse, because Julianne Moore plays manipulation so well. I love you, baby girl. You are my baby girl. You are my little girl. In one breath, and then stabbing her with a fucking knife in the other one. Yeah. She's very good at it, and that's why Carrie is so devastated and wants her mum, because her mum will make it all better for her, because she was good at doing that, good at manipulating that to make her feel like she was a caring mother.
Yeah.
Piper Laurie, on the other hand.
Well, Julianne Moore did that thing where she'd self-abuse until she got Carrie to give in. Yeah. She knew that she could go upstairs and smash her head repeatedly on the wall until Carrie came up and told her not to do it. She knew she could slap herself continuously in the face. And there's that one scene where the mother, Sue's mum, comes in to get the dress picked up for her because they'd taken it in. It was her mum's prom dress. And obviously Sue had it taken in to be in for hers. And Carrie's mum had altered it all and everything. And there's that scene where Julianne Moore's got the stitch picker.
Yeah.
And she pulls up her leg and she starts stabbing it in her leg. And I was just like, that actually makes a lot of sense. Just genuine conversation makes her feel a certain amount of a level of pain because she doesn't know how to interact with other humans. So for her to be able to relax enough to be able to have that kind of conversation, she has to self-harm to be able to function. And it's not just about Carrie. It's not about just manipulating Carrie. There's a bigger picture with Julianne Moore's portrayal of of Carrie's mum. But Piper Laurie, like you say,
oh well, Piper Laurie generally thought this was a comedy.
Yeah, she did.
Genuinely thought this was a comedy, and to be honest, she kind of plays it like a comedy as well.
She is so fun. They called her the fundamentalist because she played it like a religious zealot. She was above and beyond what they required for the part. So when I mentioned earlier that there's bits that the 1976 one did wrong to where the 2013 one corrected, one of them is to do with Piper Laurie and her passages from the Bible. So Piper Laurie's passages, not one of them's in the Bible. Right, okay.
Not one of them. And when Julianne Moore starts doing the whole, and Eve was made out of the rib of Adam.
Yeah.
That Carrie turns around and goes, it isn't even in the Bible. So they corrected the mistake. And not mistake, but they corrected it in the 2013 one when she points out you are reading stuff that is not actually verses in the Bible. And Piper Laurie did it all the way through the other one.
I think the thing about, there was a miscasting in one way, because I thought, now you're going to agree with me, and anybody who's watched Grey's Anatomy will agree with me here, I hope. Meredith's mum should have been.
She is Piper Laurie incarnated.
Isn't she just? I had to double check, and I knew it wasn't Piper Laurie, but I was like, is she related? When I first saw her, she would have played a fantastic version instead of Julianne Moore, but I understand she's not a name, so that's why we didn't get her. But
she would have. It would have been too on the nose.
I know, but still, it would have. It just would have given that.
Yeah, I instantly think of her whenever I think of it, and it's sad because Piper Laurie deserves every bit of accolade for this movie. But you are right. What's her name? Meredith's mum. Gray. What's her mum's name?
I don't. I'm way past that now, so I can't remember.
Oh, Monday Sam is probably sitting watching this, screaming what the actual name is.
Start with an E.
Do you know, I've just been talking to Anth about Grey's Anatomy because we started watching Young Sheldon, and obviously Laurie Metcalf's daughter is playing a younger version of her. Her dad is Thatcher Grey.
Ah, right, okay.
So that's where the Grey's bitch came in.
That's Laurie Metcalf's husband. Thatcher Grey.
Ex-husband.
Well, bugger me, I did not know that.
83 to 86 they were together.
That makes sense.
It wasn't very long.
No.
Yeah, it depressed the life out of us when I found out I am the same age as Sheldon's mom. I'm actually older than her by 2 months. I was gutted. I was like, no. What is that? It's still not coming to us. I can't deal with this. I cannot. You've thrown something in there because
it starts with an E, but I could be wrong.
E. Oh, Grey's mom. Oh, it's just brought up on Instagram. Ellis.
Yeah, see, started with an E. I knew it.
Yeah, I'm looking at her now. She looks exactly like her.
Yeah,
she looks like her from The Faculty.
Yes, yeah.
That's crazy. I do love Piper Laurie though. I love the over the topness. I love they're all gonna laugh at you.
I will say she'd given up acting prior to this.
She did. She retired
in 1961. So I was told, I read. 1961, she did The Hustler, which was her last movie. And I don't know how much she did from there after, but that was her last movie. And she was like, oh, okay, well, I'll come back and do this comedy.
Yeah, she generally, I'm not joking, she generally thought it was a comedy. Yeah. This movie, the 76 movie, is the starting career for John Travolta.
Yeah.
Who auditioned just for Han Solo as well. You just didn't know that. Just imagine. Imagine.
You the cheap Fonz, really, yeah. That's my John Travolta impression.
Boo. I hate myself.
This life wouldn't be it would be very different without John Travolta in it, this life. I mean, he's so many things to so many people. On this occasion, I think he brought the comedy value into the film. I think that's where he differs from the 2013 Billy. The 2013 Billy was very on the nose mean, whereas this one was just, he was in a relationship with a woman that he detested but loved at the same time, whether they knew it or not. It was this very abusive, strange dynamic.
They slapped the shit out of each other all the time.
Yeah,
there was a lot of slapping.
There was, and it worked in their dynamic. They seemed this toxic relationship seemed to work for them. And he just I think he was the one that just sort of got carried away with whatever Chrissy was doing, because he just wanted to keep her happy to some degree because she was a fucking nightmare.
Just to keep her quiet. Just keep her quiet.
Because she just kept calling him stupid all the time. And he was like, don't be stupid. Yeah, that was it. Dumb shit. Dumb shit. and he just kept saying, "Don't call me that, don't call me that." So the minute he did, obviously she calls him that even more. But she was manipulative on a different level within the relationship. She was like,
she used her womanly features to help her get what she wanted
massively. But in the 2013 one, that Chris was actually definitely psychotic, or
they both were.
She had an enjoy. There was a level of enjoyment on her face when you saw the way Chris did it. Chris's sole focus was to get Carrie back, because she thought in her head that Carrie was the reason she couldn't go to prom, that she got kicked out of school, all of those things. Not that it was actually Chris's fault for being a dick.
Yeah.
Chris just blamed Carrie for it. Whereas, whilst that's the premise of what the 2013 Chris did, 2013 Chris did a lot more than the 1976 Chris, because 2013 Chris killed the pig and enjoyed it. Whereas 76,
I had to walk away on that scene.
She turned her head around. She couldn't do it. She couldn't watch the pig being slaughtered for the blood that they use at the end.
Yeah, I couldn't watch that.
The 13 Chris, she did it, and you see her face, and you watch her enjoy it, and you know that this is more than just she is capable of more than just pouring blood on someone's head.
Oh, massively. Well, the Tommies in both films are very different as well. Yeah. So the Tommy and don't get us wrong, they kind of end up being the same person towards the end of the movie and how they are with Carrie, because they are generally enjoying her company.
Yeah.
But at the beginning in the classroom, so the classroom scenes where you've got the teacher's reading out a poem that Tommy's either written or picked. Plagiarized, yeah, because no fucking way he wrote that. And
he admits he plagiarized it when he's dancing with Carrie, because she talks about his poem, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't write that." So that
makes it. I must have missed that part. But so Carrie says the poem's beautiful, and he's like, "Ugh, like why did you say that?" Ugh. But in the 2013 one, it's Carrie who's reading out a poem, her favorite poem, and it shows the level of disrespect not just the students have for Carrie, but the teaching staff have for her as well, because Tommy recognizes that the teacher's been a dick to her, and he's the one who says dickhead. And he's like, like, you absolute twat, like you no what, like he genuinely cares. And you don't get that from the initial from the original Tommy straight away, but you are instantly like, even when he's talking to Sue about the whole thing, like, well, what did Carrie White ever do to you? Like he pulls her up straight away. Like he's not a dick about it, but he's like kind of like reminding her, like, you don't have to be a dick either. He
offers her like that story of when I was 4, I punched a kid or something, like, and he sort of offers his little bit of, I can be a dick too, don't worry, it happens. And it wasn't really anything dickish, really. It was just little kids fighting, but it was to show that, yes, we all do stupid shit, but we make it right, And the thing about both the Tommies, when it comes to the date, is that there's no pressure. So they relax, they can just be Tommy. They don't have to be Tommy and Sue, prom king and queen, They know that there's something fucky afoot, for sure, that they must have known. I'm not saying they were part of it. Tommy was definitely not part of the end game. Shit.
And Carrie knew that.
But to know that their names were on the ballot, if I was Tommy, I'd be like, oh, that's a bit
sus.
I don't, what the fuck's, what is this?
But he was genuinely, like, he even sent the text message to Sue in the 2013 one saying, she's great, having a good time, but I am missing you. So I don't know, maybe he just got swept up in the whole moment of not him, but her. She gets to have her moment. He would never have thought in a million years some crazy fucker had pig's blood on a bucket.
And
above
he was
his head.
Die very, very quickly after that,
that bucket must have been fucking made of steel to knock him out like that. But he dies exactly the same way in both films, bucket in the head. But he's I actually enjoy Tommy 2013 than I do, because he's the moral compass throughout.
He
doesn't change. Sue Sue's being caught up in the moment, and then she comes around, whereas Tommy's like, he wouldn't even allow himself to be caught up in that moment.
Yeah.
He's like defending the whole thing. So I like the 20, don't get us wrong, I like 76 Tommy later on.
Yeah, 76 Tommy, he's only doing it to make Sue happy until he actually gets there, until he picks her up, she comes out, there's the whole cocoon butterfly emerging thing where Carrie steps out the door and she looks absolutely stunning, and
then she's all that moment.
Yeah, and he's thinking to himself, okay, I can do this. This is okay.
Yeah.
This is not as bad as I thought. And you see him just relax into it, and then he starts to be Tommy. And even he does the same thing when the blood comes down before he dies. They both look at Carrie in absolute disbelief, and then they both turn around and like, what the fuck is going on? Do you know? They both have that same reaction.
That's how she knows Tommy wasn't initially involved in it, is the reaction from his face. But obviously she has, I wish they had this moment where her and Sue speak to each other and she gets to explain, we genuinely didn't know that this was going to happen. This is and Carrie kind of stops her and is like, you don't have to explain it. I know, I can feel it. And I can feel the reasons behind it. Like, she's not just telekinetic, she's also an empath as well.
All right.
So she's a lot of things, and it's such a shame that you don't really get to explore Carrie's powers and also know that there's more people out there like her.
I think they were trying to. I did see a little interview with Brian De Palma, and he did say something along the lines of, because I think Superman had been out in the 50s, 60s, the George Reeves. Yeah, his movie, which is a really sad true crime story. If you ever get a chance to go.
Oh, I've been down rabbit holes with George Reeves before. It's the curse of Superman.
It is. The original Superman story is so freaking sad. But there'd already been superhero movies at that point, and we're talking 1976. So our superhero movies, whilst they're CGI heavy, they're nothing new. There's been superhero movies for a very, very long time. And Brian De Palma was worried that if we showcased all of her abilities, it could go into more of a kitschy.
It's X-Men.
Yeah, basically,
we're looking at the Jean Grey. We're looking at the Jean Grey origin story to a degree.
and he didn't want to take it there. He wanted to focus on the main dominant power, which was the telekinesis.
It makes sense. No, it makes total sense. It's crazy you brought George Reeves up. I go down massive rabbit holes with George Reeves. He was we don't know if he was murdered or it was suicide. He was
found shot at a party, wasn't he?
In his house.
And they found a gun.
They said it was self-inflicted.
But it didn't make sense if the bullets weren't right, or that
everything about the scene was completely backwards and being mixed up. But apparently he was the only one who was in there. It's a whole thing. If you want to actually go down an even bigger rabbit hole, Ben Affleck actually played him in an autobiography movie, and it's so fucking good. Yeah, Affleck has played Superman, he's played Batman, he's played Daredevil. It's really fucking good. I am very interested in the Hollywood scandals of the 1920s to the 1960s.
True Crime and Cocktails did a George Reeves episode, so if it's one of their earlier episodes. If you scroll first. Thing about True Crime and Cocktails is it's Lauren Ash from Superstore, which I said before. She plays Dina and her cousin. You have to get past the first 20 minutes. If you're not interested in normal chatty chat, you can go fast forward for the first about 20 minutes, and then they start their podcast. But bugger me, does her cousin Chrissy go into absolutely every detail. She has like this form of like OCD. She has this she just has to get it right, and she won't be happy until she gets it right. And I can tell you that episode was like, ooh, there's a lot. There was so much that happened in that episode. So True Crime and Cocktails podcast, they do a YouTube, but I think you just see the pair of them talking to each other like you do with us, and sometimes you don't even see that, you just see a post-it note on the screen. But if not, they're on all other mediums as well. But yeah, that was a real eye-opener for a Hollywood story for sure.
Oh, it's crazy. The scandals of the 1920s to 1960s, some of the Hollywood scandals are fucking insane. And George Reeves, a very different person, will is always centered around there. They call it the Curse of Superman.
Yes, yeah.
Even though only two bad things have happened to two Supermans, the rest are okay.
So far.
Maybe their careers are a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ben Affleck plays him in an autobiography movie. Really, really fucking good. I'm lost now. Where are we? Carrie.
Yeah, the
Carrie.
reason why they didn't want to showcase all of her powers was they were too scared it would make it too superhero-y. I totally get that. And to be honest, I feel like he got a chance to kind of go into the abilities of people when he did The Shining, because obviously you got The Shining and then you got Doctor Sleep. Yeah.
And I feel like he kind of got his chance there. So maybe that should be enough for me. Like, it's okay. Carrie's dead. So you can't follow her story anymore.
That's true. There was two different types of blood made from the 76 to the 13, because obviously technology moves on. In 2013, Chloe said that the blood was the equivalent of like a hoisin / sweet and sour sauce, and it was very thick and very gelatinous because they wanted like the blood to drip slower, so they need a thicker consistency to make it look that way. But Sissy Spacek in the 76 one, she said it was just corn syrup and food coloring. We're talking good old fashioned.
Yeah, you can tell the difference of the consistency.
Billy Loomis eating his own cut.
I'm Billy Loomis and I know fucking everything.
I watched Psycho once, you know. The only issue I have with it actually was when they were doing a lot of the scenes. When it dried, she'd stick and she'd be stuck because it's like a glue consistency. So they had to have a woman that followed her around and just kept spraying her down to keep her warm. Yeah, she had a spritzer. There is a person that was employed strictly to follow Sissy Spacek around in those scenes and just keep her damp.
Keep her moist. Well, the 76 one, a lot of scenes were filmed in how do they do it? They perform it in real time and they reverse it in editing because, to make it look slower. The scene with the knives with them when Piper Laurie gets shot in real time fast, but played backwards in editing to be able to be slowed down. So in my dyslexic head and how my brain is wired, I can't quite figure out how, but I know what I mean.
When they had pinned her up at the beginning and she had everything in her and they pulled them all out.
That's it.
And then they've reversed the filming. But if you look very carefully, there is a wire hanging out of the top knife that's in her chest. You can see the wire coming off the top. You see it, bold as brass, in all the movie.
Oh, no. I had never seen it. Now I'm not going to not be able to see it.
But they had Piper Laurie's mother in the same position as, I've always called him Creepy Jesus in the cupboard, right? Creepy Jesus that's in the prayer cupboard, right? But it's not. He was Saint Sebastian, apparently. But they had Piper Laurie and Saint Sebastian in exactly the same position, with exactly the same wound pattern, exactly the same hair. So, because those eyes on that bloody thing, they were like...
It's got a light behind it.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
That gave me the ick. The film itself, but Creepy Jesus staring it out... I think I put a thing out on the page about Creepy Jesus.
You did. And it freaked us out on there as well. It's a light behind it, isn't it? That's what's lighting its eyes up. But yeah, she gets a Harry Potter treatment in that mind, doesn't she, with that little cupboard under the stairs? Get in there.
Yeah. Off you trot.
It's when she keeps calling her a witch. But the two characteristics between the two, Carrie... In the 76 one, Carrie is not actually quite scared to stand up to her mother. She's got a bit of it, like she can backchat her a lot.
Yeah.
And she does, even before she's even shown her what she's capable of doing. She still has a go at her, like the way that she speaks to her. The 2013 one, she's really meek about it. Like, she's saying all the right things, but it's just it's not aggressive enough as what you got from the screeching squeals of Sissy Spacek.
I think the thing with Sissy Spacek though is that you could see the desperation in that Carrie. She was all in. Like I say, the extra 10 years of experience, I feel like helped. She could understand the need to be heard, the need to be like seen, being like, she even says to her mum, I want to be like all the others, I just want to be normal, or words to that effect. And it's just so sad. It is incredibly sad to see, because you're just like, your life has no, she feels like her life has no meaning, and she's trying to give it meaning by being normal. And her mum's like, normal are whores, normal are Satan's women, normal are, you know, what does she call them? Oh, I can't think
Fornicators.
Yeah, there's something along the lines of
fornicators.
That, you know, and it's that scene where I think it's where she's begging Carrie not to go to the prom, and she starts.
I can see your dirty pillars.
Yeah, but is it after that she starts going on about how,
take it off, we can burn it together, we can do a ritual sacrifice, we can do all, and Carrie's like, fuck no, and slaps her back down again.
And then is it then she talks about her dad, or is it
no, it's at the end. It's when she comes back. She'd been in the bath, and Piper Laurie is hiding behind that door for God knows how long.
And it's creepy. You just see her staring.
I'm thinking to myself, how long have you been there? Like, have you always been standing there? And then she does she gives the speech at the end, which kind of like, it doesn't justify anything that Margaret White ever did to Carrie, but it kind of gives you a reasoning as to why she's the way she is today.
Yeah.
She is, her whole life now is repenting for the fact that when she got raped by her husband, she actually enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And
she revels in pain, and it does mention it in the book that pain is her release, pain is her penance for having thoughts or feelings, or not living her life by the book, you know, the way that Jesus says. Jesus has never said any of these things, may I just add?
No.
These are not the words of a man.
No.
These are not.
No.
I'm very sure for someone who preached love and someone who preached,
hey, she is they do say there's nothing like Christian love, and she very much portrays, do you know who she is? I can't believe I'm being able to do this again and turn it around and give you an Always Sunny reference, but I can do it. She is Mac, because Mac is all about the wrath of God. Like, you know, God's doing this doing this for an absolute reason. Like, God's making me gay because he's punishing me for it. And it's not until you meet Country Mac who kind of like explains that, you know, you look at God at all this penance and punishment. I look at him as love. I look at him as the sunshine, as the fresh air, as the nature, and he's just fucking cool as shit. And poor Country Mac. Rest in peace, Country Mac.
Doesn't he die on the bike?
Maybe because of all the drugs and alcohol that he'd been drinking throughout the whole episode.
That might have something to do about it.
But rest in peace, Country Mac. He was the best of us.
I will say there is proof in the pudding to the difference from the two films, though. The original, the 2013, the budget for that was 30 million on the 2013 movie, 30 million. And it took 84.8 million in the box office, which in itself, that's a huge success.
Yeah, it was
and I didn't realize it was that well received. I was quite
fans. The only thing fans had against this movie is there is some scenes that were deleted that would make it fully the book, a full adaptation of the book. That's the only complaint. And if that's your only complaint,
I have one, but we'll get there.
Okay.
The 1976, I'll tell you what it is in 1976, and then I'll give you today's conversion to put it next to. In 1976, it had a 1.8 million budget, which was a shoestring budget for the time.
Yeah.
and it turned over 33.8 million in the box office. But when you translate that into today's figures, they had 9.8 million budget, so a hell of a lot less than the original. But bear in mind, the 2013 took 84 million at the box office. The original took 185.5 million at the box office worldwide.
That's a lot of coin.
When you convert the 33.8 million from 1976 to 24, it comes out to 185,532,892 pounds and 79 cents. In dollars and 79 cents.
That's a lot of coin.
So it just goes to show that with the lack of horror movies back in 76, with I say lack of horror, I mean the genre is just starting to emerge. You know, you've got Texas Chainsaw, you're coming into, it's okay to watch these things and not feel bad about watching horror. You know, it's
the taboo of horror, because
you had the at this point. So
I would love for us to do kind of like a history on horror one day to kind of explain the timeline, because it's so weird. The 60s holds a weird time for horror, where the 70s is like pulling it back and taking it back. I get what you mean.
But this, so I mean, for horror to gross 185.5 million, a horror movie from an unknown writer at the time.
Yeah, nobody knew who the fuck he was.
And you know, the fact that it also got both of them, we're talking Sissy Spacek and Piper Laurie, were both nominated for Oscars.
Yes.
This movie. Now, what do we say all the time? Horrors get neglected continuously at the Oscars because it's not classed as a serious kind of movie.
No.
But they both got, because they treated this movie when they took it to the Oscars, like they did with Silence of the Lambs, a drama-based movie, like a thriller. I think that's what they classed it as, wasn't it? Best thriller, I think.
Yeah, thriller. It was something along those lines. It will never be categorized as horror if it goes to the Oscars. I think the only one time it had even brought to it was Jordan Peele, and that's because you could not get around. Well, they could, because they can call it a psychological drama, thriller. They can chuck words like at that, but it's fucking horror.
Did you also know in 2010, Stephen King told an audience when he was doing one of his live speeches that he was only paid in 1970, between 1974 and 1976, for them to license the option. He was only paid $2,500.
Yeah.
For it. And then when you translate that, it's only $14,500.
Yeah. But Stephen King has given away his material for $1.
Yeah.
Because he's excited about what people can do for his work. He is not precious, mind.
But that's now. When that was your first book going out into a movie, and it became a $185.5 million success, he only made $2,500. Whilst it opened the door, it didn't
do too bad on his book sales though, because the first time it did come a number one bestseller, and he only released 30,000 copies on his first run. And then the movie came out, and it just fucking the demand. So he's got to have made some pennies or residuals along the way when it comes to the book, because it did massive after the movie. It did even bigger than it did on its initial release, and they didn't even think that it would do what it did on its initial release. He didn't think this was going to go anywhere.
Did you know that there was a hell of a lot of actresses up for this part of the Sissy Spacek 1976? Have you got a list there too?
I don't actually. I didn't make one.
Glenn Close.
Oh,
Melanie Griffith.
I knew that one.
Angelica Houston. Jessica Lange, Margot Kidder. Bernadette Peters. Jane Seymour. Streep. Sybil Shepherd. Kathleen Turner. Sigourney Weaver, Deborah Winger, Farrah Fawcett, and Linda Blair. Every
single one of them is exactly the same fucking person in a way. Take Angelica Houston out of the question.
Yeah.
They are all in the same kind of category in my head anyway, when it comes to a set of actresses, I understand how Sissy Spacek won over, because it would have been so generic looking.
Yeah.
That's the word I'm looking for.
Sigourney Weaver 3 years later went on to do Alien anyway, so she would have looked too old, I feel, to have portrayed Carrie even 3 years before, looking how she did in the 1979 hit that we all know now as Alien.
Yeah.
She would have been too old looking to play that.
Just Jessica Lange, Meryl Streep,
Melanie Griffith,
Deborah Winger are all in the same boathouse for me. Like movie, I don't know, because Jessica Lange did some horror. Is she? I don't know.
It was an odd choice for me because
it's the hair. She could never have done it with the hair.
Yeah, I mean the thing about that one was that that was coming off the back of the whole Woody Allen, Rosemary's Baby, the whole thing with Mia Farrow. You know, there was the whole that Rosemary's Baby hit a chord in the 70s that hadn't been hit before, and we're talking about The Exorcist, you know, all these horror movies that came out prior to Carrie that helped Carrie's success in one way, because they were all about young women in precarious situations.
Yeah,
I mean, they class Carrie as a feminist horror. Now, I don't understand that, because to me, it's not about feminism.
It's about revenge.
Yeah, she is not taking back her femininity or her.
It's not even been in question.
No, it was never.
It's pure on revenge.
This is the thing, and this is what annoys me when people reclassify things to suit their own narrative. It's not needed. It's not feminist horror in any way, shape, or form. All you've got is a female protagonist who takes ownership of her own situation, but not in a way that is healthy, not in a way that is mentally stable, not in a way that any normal person without abilities could do. So it is a revenge movie about a woman that got pushed over the edge who just so happened to have magical powers.
Yeah.
So it's not a feminist movie. I would never class it as a feminist movie. Call me old-fashioned.
I totally agree with you. The femininity isn't even in question. Taking back her power isn't in question. She is literally had a fucking enough. Like, she's done with this bullshittery.
She's had so much in the way of enough of their bullshittery that the difference between the two kill counts in the two movies is huge.
Go on, let's put Carrie on the list. We haven't even been on this at all.
Yeah.
Oh.
In 2013, she killed a total of 22 people. She killed, well, not she specifically, but the movie, shall we say?
The movie,
had 2 kills in it.
Okay.
So in the 2013 one, you had Tommy with a bucket, Heather with her face through the window of the prom door at the thing. Jackie, which was one of the shit blokes, got crushed in the stairs. You had the photographic guy, Fred, who got hit by a table. You had the twins that was trampled to death. You had a couple of random guys. Tina, who was set on fire and whipped, which we talked about. Billy and Chrissy. Billy died instantly in the car crash. Chrissy was then mangled beyond belief by Carrie, and her face went through the window. That was mainly CGI, but practically, I didn't like the way they did it. But
it's they didn't need it, to be honest, because she was going in the petrol station anyway. But it was quite satisfying because she was a dick.
Yeah, pretty much. And then the mum and Carrie herself, which came to around 22 deaths when you add in all the random guys from the prom. So when they did the kill count, there's 13 men and 9 women that die in the movie, in the 2013 one, which averaged a kill every 4.55 minutes in the 2013 movie. So if you average that over the length of the movie, just over every 4.5 minutes, the death. Now, go to the 1976 version. They are very similar in respect of that. Tommy dies the same way. The principal's electrocuted. Miss Collins is killed by a basketball backboard that comes down and smashes her in half. well, technically you don't see that's what happened, but that's what happened. Mr. From, the shit teacher, he gets electrocuted. Billy and Chris die, the mum and herself. But during the prom in the 1976 one, it makes the total death count come to 73 deaths.
She went girl, sissy.
Which average every 1.19 1 minute 19 seconds someone died in that movie.
That's nuts. Go on, Carrie.
Sissy Spacek killed more people than Chloe.
So when we do our episode of our kill count champs, Sissy Spacek Carrie has to go in there, but not Chloe's.
Well,
sorry.
The reason why a lot of people feel that the 2013 one was very net of the time was because a guy called Seikasa co-wrote the screenplay with Lawrence Cohen, who wrote the original one too. He's responsible for writing the Sabrina and Riverdale. They were his babies.
Oh, it makes so much sense.
Exactly. When you think of it with those eyes, it makes perfect sense that they all,
the palette that they use,
it falls into line. It just all works. I mean, everything about the movie is sad. It is a sad film. It is
Carrie's story is devastating.
You have a front row seat to this abuse, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's the hardest thing. I don't empathize that often in real life, not because I'm a psychopath or a sociopath or anything like that. I have an ability to be able to just switch off and stay in my lane.
So I have the complete opposite, because I think this is why we work for, because I am completely I am 100% in it, like all the emotions all the time. I cannot switch them off.
I learned a long time ago that I can't focus on my job, my life, my path if I am overly empathetic to everybody else, because they then come in the way of being able to function as a human, because I take on their stresses, their worries,
their burdens.
Well, not necessarily their burdens, but I try and help because that's what I do. And it took a long time of getting burnt over and over again by people to learn to just go, right, okay, now's my time. Now's this. So I don't get empathetic in real life that often.
Oh God, I do.
However, when you watch this movie, you do empathize with Carrie. You not just empathize, but you want to be able to reach in and help her. You want to be able to just go, come with me, I'll sort you out. Because even I still feel like the school teacher all the way through was incredibly
condescending.
Yeah, she had this knack of building Carrie up, but then to be fair, I understand what she was doing when she went to Tommy and Sue and she sat them down and went, what the fuck are you doing? You understand. It was just this one line in the 76 one where she turns around, she says to Tommy, how ridiculous are you going to feel walking into prom with Carrie White on your arm? That's a fucking horrible thing to say.
That's awful. It is horrible. Awful. But did you notice that Judy Greer's character was saved by her?
Yeah.
And that is her showing her empath abilities, that she can feel that she's not part of this.
Yeah.
And she's not, all her feelings are going towards, oh shit, Carrie, no, this is horrible. What the fuck have they done, kind of thing. And she can feel that, and that's why she lifts her up and saves her.
Right, I've got a question for you then. So just after she does that, because she lifts her up, saves her, and puts her on the
ground,
on the stage. This is the bit that I have the biggest gripe with. Whilst I know technically, if we're talking about the use of telekinesis, it's very possible to happen in theory. Do you think the writers wrote this in because they didn't want Carrie stepping in the electrified water? So they thought, how are we going to get her out of the building? By making her fly.
Yeah, I feel like they wrote themselves in a hole, because there's a big, massive scene missing from the 76 one where Carrie she actually snaps out of it in the prom hall,
right,
for a second in the book. It doesn't last very long, because then she realizes she's got Chris and Tommy to deal with. She runs out of the building. She manages to get out of the building. And they missed that out completely on the 76 one. They had to be able to get it into the 2013 one to make it, for her to see her going after, because there's so much, like, the effects wise, what they did with her coming out of the building to where she was almost like a slasher, like a slasher killer, the way she was creeping up behind them. The way she was creeping up behind them. But I feel like they wrote themselves into a corner because there is electrical fire. There is, the whole fire has started because of the electricity, the surges and everything. And they felt like they had to get that part in, and then the floor bit, and the fact that, there's people who get electrocuted from the water and the thingy, and it's like, oh shit, then we have to now get her out of the building. How do we do that? Oh, we'll make our Princess Leia to cross the building.
That's the bit where literally, for me, if they could redo that entire film, that would be the only scene I'd really change. Don't make her fly. It just then makes I understand if we're going into theoretical physics and telekinesis being a thing where you can move things with your mind. Technically, you'll be able to move your own body weight and move yourself to a destination.
But Carrie's not there yet, though. Like, she only has realized half the stuff of what she can do.
You've never even seen her attempt to levitate prior to that. So I don't know whether it was supposed to be like a big reveal. Oh, look, she can fly.
She did it with her bed, but that was just that was her. And that was an object that she moved, not her physical self.
Exactly. So for me, that just made me sit there and go, oh, that was the only bit that I was just like. From then on, I was like, really, you took it there? I just felt like there was no need for her to fly. That scene where she flies towards the door and she's pulling those stupid, weird, like, silly face.
The facial expressions.
Elizabeth Olsen's portrayal of the Red Witch, Scarlet Witch. She has that.
I totally get that.
Very similar, the way she does the looks with her eyes and the hands.
And the hexing with the fingers and everything.
Yeah, if you go to the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness and watch that version, it is very similar to Chloe's version of Carrie in the way they move. Honestly,
but Chloe did it first.
Yeah, I mean, I give her.
Chloe did it first, but I'm sorry, I did write down, how I mentioned earlier about Sue finding out more information on the it's actually after the fact. So it's after Carrie's died. She doesn't go into a, mental, she doesn't have like a psychotic break or anything like that. She actually publishes a book called The White Committee. And the book is her finding people with the same ability as Carrie. It's almost like she's trying to justify what happened, because this whole town had to declare a state of an emergency and relocate and had to start again. And it's almost like Sue is trying to justify what Carrie actually did.
Because they hint to that, don't they, in the 2013 movie, because they do the White Commission interview at the end.
Yeah.
And you can see she wasn't pregnant.
That scene at the end, though, with the whole baby and the hand, and I'm like, no, fuck no. That's fucking creepy. That's creepy. Let's just go with, Carrie White's grave, like we did in the original. Why did we have to do the labor scene? Why?
Because they can't help themselves, can they?
Oh, that was a bit odd for me. But only because I love the ending of the 76 one. I love it even more now, knowing that is Sissy Spacek underneath there.
Yeah. And it was shot in reverse, because if you watch it, the cars are going backwards in the background. And
it was used a lot during the whole thing. I think a lot of the prom stuff was filmed in reverse as well, because it's just the way that it's pictured, the cinematography of it, it's just a better fit.
Yeah,
to be able to do it that way as opposed to running it might not have looked the same.
Yeah, I mean the use of the split screen in the 76 one was great, I think, as well, because
you get to see everything.
To see it from Carrie's point of view, but you also get to see Carrie's face while she's doing it. So you're seeing what she's seeing and what she's doing at the same time.
But it's also, you're getting the reaction from the people in there as well. And that's almost like the book.
Yeah.
Because the book is not just one point of view. there's so many of the events of that night, so getting to see all different. I love the split screen on there, not used enough.
The kaleidoscope thing I wasn't too keen on, where she was hallucinating that everybody was laughing at her in the prom just after the blood had dumped on them. The one thing Chloe did say was that the blood was incredibly heavy. When it fell on her, she felt like, you know, she'd been punched. Yeah. But yeah, it was that scene where in the 76 one you have these kaleidoscope effects of it going around, and then
at least they had something.
Laugh at you.
But at least they had something, because the 2013 one didn't have anything. It's actually silent when it all happens, and it's quite uncomfortable because nobody's like, oh no, what's happened? It's just
that's the thing. Not one of those people again come to her rescue except for Tommy. And he's like, what the fuck? And he goes towards her and he's like, are you okay?
Donk.
And the next thing you know, Donkey's gone. He's the only one that showed her any concern in that moment. Like, and then everybody just stood there. Not even the girlfriend of 2013's Tommy's best mate, who went to another school that they brought in to show that she didn't. Oh, yeah. I thought she would have at least gone like, oh, fucking hell, you know. But no,
yeah, someone who didn't know Carrie.
Yeah, she just knew the minute the girl she just met in that time. She had no idea about anything else. I would be like, why is everybody standing around? Why is nobody helping her? You know, I don't understand. That for me, that's the only bit. I feel like it just that you're telling me in a hall of 100 people, not one person.
Not one person.
But I think that's the whole point in this, to show her isolation,
exactly,
to show her loneliness, to show that that's why she can only trust her mother, because nobody else is prepared to give her the time of day.
Our mother's point has been proven in the actions of what happened that night. And it's like, oh shit, she was right. They did laugh at her. In her head. They may not have actually done it, but to her, they laughed at her. To her, they humiliated her once again, but in a bigger audience this time. And her mother was right.
The only thing I will say, this is the last thing I got to talk about really, but the whole thing with Piper Laurie's portrayal of the crucifixion compared to Julianne Moore's.
Yeah.
Julianne Moore's, she played it, very quickly died after she was crucified. Except she had her last breaths and then she got ripped down and then she died. Piper Laurie played it that she was just reveling in it. It was like ecstasy to her, the pain that she was feeling.
She was on another level.
It made her, like, I'm gonna say it, she looked like she was having a climactic experience of some kind. She was probably the closest she had ever been to God at that moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
As you well know, she mentioned it earlier to say that when she was raped by her husband when he came home from the bar that time, she enjoyed it. And pain is her way of coping. And they're, you know, not necessarily that Piper Laurie's version is pain of coping, but when you see the death, you understand that it's a release. There was a release for her.
She looked satisfied at the end.
Oh,
didn't
she looked very happy with herself, didn't she? I mean, what a way to go, let's be honest.
And she looked beautiful when she died.
It's the staring. Julianne Moore didn't do this, which I'm kind of glad about. Piper Laurie looked Sissy straight in the eye when she died. She gave her the.
You saw the light go out in her eyes. Like that is
that was like proper like.
I have no more on Carrie. I feel like we have done a hell of a job to be able to integrate two movies
side by side.
Yeah,
a bit different today, I think, because I think sometimes you have to sort of, when you've got something so close to something else, you can't really split it. You have to sort of run it.
Yeah, and it's not a case. You have to intertwine it, because the if it was a case of the 76 one and the 2030 or the 76 one being this huge fucking masterpiece, and the 2013 one, oh, what a pile of shit, like that would have been totally different. But when you've got two movies who are back to back really fucking good,
pretty very close, like I say, written by the same screenplay, you know, the only thing I will say is that there's a section with the house, when the house folds in, and we know about the rocks raining and how they couldn't quite pull that off because it ruined the effects. But Jack Fisk built a quarter-size house on a soundstage with a lift inside it. So the house was built exactly as it was on the outside, and it had a lift inside it, which then pulled the roof. When the lift was pulled down, it pulled the roof in, so the whole building caved in on
collapsed.
it. So imagine building a quarter-scale house for just that one shot. But yeah, I almost forgot about that. But yeah, the amount of effort and time that have gone into both movies separately, 76 will win out for me because it just has this element.
It's a classic. It's classic.
But for me, it has that element. Sissy, it just had that element of, she played both so well. The girl who was accepted and the girl who wasn't accepted. She had that ability to look like that kid that no one wanted to know, and then the kid that everybody wanted to know. Yeah. Whereas Chloe has been blessed with a beautiful face, and conventionally beautiful face. So she'd fall in with the crowd regardless. They'd take pity on her and look after her.
All she had to do was just straighten her back and put her head on, hold her head up high, and it would have been a totally different outcome. But Sissy Spacek played the 76 one is a classic. It is a classic in horror. It is an example of horror, to be fair. The 2013 one is not a bad remake. It's actually it puts a lot of things right. Not right, but like it adds more into it. It fleshes it more out a bit. It gives you a little bit, tiny bit more than what you got from the 76 one. And honestly, I remember watching it when it first came out, and I was like, oh. But then I watched the remake of Poltergeist and went, no, actually, that was really good.
I love Sam Rockwell.
Fuck off, Dan. That film is terrible.
No, I love Sam Rockwell, so this killed me, that remake. It killed me.
Oh, it's so bad.
Killed me.
So bad. So I thoroughly enjoyed watching both of them. I always thought Carrie was a short film. I always thought like it felt like a really short film, and then I was like, oh, actually, it's actually not.
The first one's 95 minutes. I don't know about the second one's.
Well, that's your typical runtime of a 90s film was 95 minutes. That's the 80s and 90s films never really ran past 95 minutes.
That's crazy though.
Yeah. Well,
let's see.
That's Carrie in the bag.
Yeah.
Carrie. Next week. We're going into, so we've done 70s and 80s and 2 of the 90s. We're now going into now time.
Yes.
And we're doing something I would cast a little different.
This is going to be a new one for you, I feel. You're going to really like this. I really feel like you will.
I have not seen this film, but I am intrigued. Dan, give me a tiny synopsis before we started, and I'm like, do you know what? For the main character, fuck yes, I am in this. We are doing Colour Out of Space from 2019, which is a Nicolas Cage movie, and actually has Portia Doubleday, who is Chrissy Hargitton in the 2013 Carrie in it. So
Jolie Richardson from
Event Horizon.
And Nicolas Cage, Mr. Nicolas Cage. It is a H.P. Lovecraft movie.
Yeah.
I know we only recently did Reanimator, which is also H.P. Lovecraft, but
let's keep it fresh. Let's keep it fresh in everyone's mind.
This movie, if you haven't seen it, you've got a week. Go watch it. It's on Shudder, it's on Amazon, it's around. Go watch it. It is the most beautifully the cinematography is unlike anything you've seen in any other movie. If anything you can take away from this is it's stunningly shot, and I fell in love with it for that reason. So I can't wait to watch this one
again. So Colour Out of Space 2019 is what we're doing. I'm just giving you the date, so just in case anything else come up. It was from 2019. So you can find us on YouTube every Monday at, I'm going to stop saying this next week, but our new time of 8 o'clock. The audio for this episode and all episodes relating to Nerdy Up North are available on a Tuesday from anywhere you get your podcast from. You can find all the links for Bleeding Marvelous, Nerdy Up North, and Monsters Up North right where Dan is pointing right now. As we are recording on a Tuesday today,
Mm-hmm.
but this will go out on Monday.
Correct.
So you've already had this moment. But happy birthday for tomorrow!
Thanks.
Or because we're in the future, happy belated birthday for last week.
I'm now old for a week. Yay.
Yay! Oh, we time traveled and you aged.
Don't I look terrible? Yeah, it's great.
Oh, God damn you, time travel.
Yeah.
So, I think that's it.
Yep.
We got any more? No? Well, if there's nothing more to say goodbye, Dan.
Bye, Dan.
Stay spooky, everyone. Bye.